Good evening and welcome to Mello TV. I'm your host, Nicole Hayles. For the past 12 days, we have comprehensively analyzed and broke down the findings in our Mello TV Bill Johnson poll, a survey that has proven to be very accurate and spot on. Tonight, we will look at responses of people on the topic of whether or not Jamaica is still considered a PNP country. To help break down the findings tonight are renowned pollster Bill Johnson and political analyst and commentator Paul Bourne. Good evening, gentlemen, and welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Good evening. You're welcome.
Bill, tonight we're at the home stretch and we are at the question that so many Jamaicans want the answers to. Let's look at the numbers. Is Jamaica still considered a PNP country?
Okay, well, one of the lingering axioms of Jamaican politics has been that Jamaica is PNP country, that there's a natural bias toward the PNP in the electorate. But based on surveys that we've conducted, we believe that this is no longer true by any means. We asked people, do you always vote for the JLP candidate, or do you usually vote for the JLP candidate? Do you sometimes vote for the JLP candidate, sometimes for the PNP candidate? Do you always vote for the PNP candidate? Do you usually vote for the PNP candidate? Or do you usually not vote for whatever reason when elections are held? And in October of 2011, I conducted this survey, and 37% of the people said they always or usually voted for the JLP. 44% said they always or usually voted for the PNP. 19% said they sometimes voted for either party. Now, fast forward to today, in our current poll, we asked the same question, and the JLP support has remained constant at 37%, whereas the PNP support has fallen 13 points to 31%, and 32% are now sometimes they vote for either party. So we certainly can say that Jamaica is not PNP country at this time, and it appears that for the time being, it's actually JLP country.
Paul, the people have spoken. What do you make of the data that Bill just presented to us?
Would I say Jamaica is a JLP country? Let's look at what I'm actually seeing here. Because if there's a constant in terms of they always usually vote for the JLP, which are technically the base of the party, and that has remained the same, it does not necessarily mean that it's a JLP country. But let's look what is certain from the figures. From 44% to 31%, that is a massive reduction in the base of the PNP. And I remember saying some time ago that the current face of the People's National Party and all the challenges that they have had has actually amplified their problems today. But not only that, those 18 years that the People's National Party stayed in power, that they were not planning and they were actually mimicking and laughing at the Jamaica Labour Party. The results are in their face today, because what they have done, they have squandered the initial thing that they had in terms of the country being a PNP country. So the country seemingly been sort of shared between the People's National Party and the Jamaica Labour Party.
Paul, still with you. Are the people frustrated with the PNP, even its own base supporters?
Without a doubt, that is absolutely yes. Because remember, we're looking at the base figures, those persons who are always or usually vote for the party. And that has moved from 44% to 31%. That's a clear indication that there is not only political apathy in Jamaica, but there's also political apathy in the People's National Party. There's a high level of dissatisfaction among the PNP base in terms of who they are getting to represent them in terms of the leadership. And that needs to be addressed, and I presume addressed yesterday.
Paul, in the 2020 general election, the JP won by a landslide, and our poll predicted it accurately. Is there any coming back from to governance for the PNP based on the numbers you're seeing tonight? Will there be another landslide victory by the JLP based on your assessment and the numbers we've presented?
I'm concerned with the current numbers, because if we're actually going by the numbers, it means that the JLP has a slight margin over the People's National Party. So the issue of the Jamaica being a PNP country and actually assuming that they need to do little or nothing to win the election is not going to be the case anymore. The People's National Party clearly is going to have to work to ensure that they actually maintain or even break even, and as a result try to win the next general election or even the local government election. Now what they need to do is, as I said before, commence a canvas and ask their base, what is it that they are doing? What is it that failed to do? And therefore start the process of regeneration and promoting themselves as a viable alternative to the Jamaica Labour Party.
All right, still with the JLP, how can they capitalize on this momentum they have been able to maintain even in the midst of a pandemic and crime affecting the country?
The JLP prior to the COVID-19 situation was doing extremely well. And it's clear from the numbers here that despite the challenges of COVID and crime, the JLP has maintained its image, maintained its persona, maintain its status in terms of the people's view, in terms of what it is doing well. So all the JLP has to do, as I said before, is hope coronavirus and all the things associated with lockdown quickly pass Jamaica. And if that happens and the country goes back to what it was before, then I do not see the PNP actually coming into power for the next election.
Paul, what set of advice would you give to the Prime Minister and his team as words of caution, even in the midst of their popularity with the people, based on the numbers that we've discussed for the past 2 weeks?
The numbers have indicated that many of the ministers in the Jamaica Labour Party, including the Minister of National Security and the Minister of Education, are not doing well at the moment. So I am cautioning the Prime Minister that do not take these numbers in their absolute term and say that fact that you have a marginal lead over the People's National Party, and for you to be relaxed and be comfortable and therefore be caught in the blocks. So therefore, what is it that you ought to do is to relook at some of your ministers that you have, give them a mandate, have your local representative go out in the streets, begin campaigning, accomplishing some of the things that you really wanted to do outside of that. And that way you can close out some of the advantages that the PNP had in Jamaica that existed for some years.
Paul, still with you. Based on the findings of the past 2 weeks, is all lost for the PNP? And what advice would you give to Mark Goldacre and his team at this time?
There is no all lost in this situation, because politics is a dynamics, I'm going to call it sport, that as long as the game is still playing, a team has a chance to win. So the People's National Party needs to understand that the game is not over because the ref hasn't blown the whistle. However, there are a number of challenges that are embedded inside the PNP, and a part of them is a rift created with the issue with Mark Golding, the issue relating to Peter Phillips, the issue relating to Portia Simpson, and all of that has actually germinated to a point where there's a high level of dissatisfaction in its base. Now, what is clearly happening to the People's National Party, they have not taken into consideration are a number of young persons who are technically tired of the People's National Party because of the time that they spent in power. And persons are saying, we're going to give the Jamaica Labour Party an opportunity. Not only that, the JLP has a face of a younger person, a youth individual, and more persons want to associate with a younger person than a Mark Golding in terms of face. So if Mark Golding is going to have to be competitive, what he's going to have to do is to prove to the young persons that not only does he have their best interests at heart, but that his party can actually do a better job than the Jamaica Labour Party.
As it pertains to the whole issue of crime, Paul, based on the findings of the past 2 weeks, it is considered a pressing issue in conjunction with the COVID pandemic for Jamaica. Your advice to the government and even the opposition to help tackle the crime monster?
The crime issue is a complex one, and if I were the Prime Minister, I would actually start tackling crime from a different perspective than they are currently doing. I will begin tackling crime from the home perspective. I did a research a few years ago that found that there's a high statistical relationship between divorce and murders. So what I'll start to do is to begin a thrust where I can actually keep families together, reduce the possibility of people getting divorced, and therefore reduce the possibility of all that social conflict actually spilling over into murders and other crimes. So that has to be the focus of the Prime Minister, and not the focus he's actually taking. The homes have degenerated to the point where there's nothing but chaos inside the homes, and COVID-19 does not make it any easier. And why COVID-19 has not made it any easier? Because many of the persons are at home, not working, and just downright frustrated. So what is really going on is that COVID-19 has expanded the frustration level of individuals. So what is going to happen? I'm anticipating that divorces are going to increase and possible murders are going to increase as a result of that social decay that's in society. So what I'm advising the government to do is to address social issues within families.
Paul, before we go, your final words or possible prescription or recommendation from the Prime Minister and the government as a whole, and also the opposition People's National Party.
Mr. Prime Minister, the people of Jamaica has shown you that they have an interest, not only an interest, but a love for exactly what it is that you're doing. So within that context, I'm actually hoping that you understand their love and their passion, and the things that are actually going wrong at the moment, that you address them. So that is for the Prime Minister. For Mr. Golden, you need to address fundamentally the issues that are in your party, all the conflicts, all the turmoil, all the psychological challenges that are there. Those must be addressed before you can actually address the things on the road.
There you have it, the comprehensive and spot-on findings of the Mello TV and Bill Johnson poll. You can listen to Mello FM and Rhythm FM newscasts next Monday for the recap. I want to thank our guests tonight, renowned pollster Bill Johnson, who have yet again brought us some eye-opening findings that have provoked changes, and our thought-provoking and brilliant political analyst and commentator, Paul Bourne. I'm Nicole Hayles on behalf of the entire production team. Thanks for watching.